Hello and welcome. I'm Srinivasan Jain. You're watching a special edition of Left, Right and Centre. In this entire crisis that has engulfed the Tata Group after their sudden removal of Group Chairman Cyrus Mistry, so far most of the information about why he was removed and how he was removed has come through leaks, through sources, through insiders speaking off the record. But tonight, in an exclusive, we will play you exact accounts. This is, remember, the Tata side of the entire sequence of events. Exact accounts on camera of exactly how Cyrus Mistry was removed and why he was removed. We'll play you these exclusive interviews and then we'll debate whether Cyrus Mistry was made a scapegoat for the Tatas' flailing fortunes, or was he in fact responsible for exacerbating their decline. We'll begin with Mohan Parasaran. Now, Mohan Parasaran is a senior Supreme Court advocate and the legal brain behind the removal of Cyrus Mistry. He was one of those 3 top lawyers consulted by the Tata Group before that crucial board meeting where Cyrus Mistry's removal was announced to Cyrus himself. Mistry is supposed to have told the board that his removal is illegal and it was done without due process, and he was not given any chance to prepare himself. But as Mohan Parasaran just told me a little while earlier in the day in an exclusive interview, he said that in fact Mistry had been taken aside by Ratan Tata himself just moments before the board meeting and was offered a chance to step down. His contention, it appears to be, is that the board couldn't have done this in this way, that they needed to give him notice so he could make a case for himself.
Yeah, possibly he is seeking to rely upon one particular article, possibly I think Article 121B, which says that if any director wants to move a resolution for bringing an agenda for consideration before a board, then 15 days notice has to be given.
Right.
We considered that article as well. Not only me, some other legal brains also.
Yes.
But that will only apply to a case where a fresh meeting or a fresh notice is given for the first time.
Right.
And will not apply to a case of an ongoing board meeting.
So this was a board meeting which had already been scheduled.
Already commenced. The board meeting had already commenced. And for every board meeting, it is normal corporate practice that you also have a residuary agenda. Any other matter with the permission of the chair.
Okay, so it didn't specifically mention that his replacement was on the agenda.
Yeah, you can always bring it.
You can bring it as any other item.
And secondly, all the directors are present.
Right.
It was not as though there are cases where if only say 3 directors or 4 directors, only the quorum is present, then possibly, yeah, one can say it has to be had on some other day. But here, everybody was present.
But Mr. Parasaran, I mean, doesn't that appear to be somewhat of a coup d'etat, that you hold this meeting, you don't announce that you're going to do this, and then you tell the chairman of the board halfway through the meeting that he is going to be replaced?
You know, they did it at the show beginning itself. I think I was told that even before the meeting, I think they had a private meeting.
Okay.
And he was put on notice. And I'm not sure whether before that there were any talks. That I'm not privy to that.
But before the meeting, he was
told
that this is likely to happen.
Just before the meeting, I was told that both Mr. Tata and one other director from USA, who had come down all the way from the USA, tried to actually persuade him
to step down.
I think so. But I think possibly he had his own views. He is entitled to have his own views.
This could possibly be Nitin Noria, who's the dean of the Harvard Business School.
Yeah.
So he and Mr. Tata tried to have a word with him.
Yeah. Therefore, you can't say that it was actually a sudden surprise was sprung upon him.
But you know, at the end of the day, someone in his position of seniority doesn't even get a chance to make his own case. He's just axed with immediate effect.
No, he is just actually, the law permits, according to the majority. See, you must see there are so many responsible people on the board.
Right.
It's not our opinion, it's not merely a legal opinion.
Right.
if you see the composition of the board,
Right.
it was Mr. Ratan Tata, forget Mr. Ratan Tata. Apart from that, you had independent directors like Mr. Venu Srinivasan, Mr. Ajay Peramal, and he's the dean of the Harvard University,
Nitin Noria.
Dinoria.
Right.
See, all of them are
So you had
responsible people.
eminent people
Eminent
there.
people. And they have had enough corporate experience.
Is this likely to turn into a prolonged legal battle between the Tatas and the Mistry family over his removal?
I only hope it should not actually. See, actually, I feel that there should be an amicable way of resolving the issues. I think it should not be unnecessarily blown out of proportion.
Okay.
And personally speaking, I'm interested in all the groups.
Right.
And court battles these days, I think, gives unnecessary unpleasantness.
Last question to you. You've been associated with the Tatas for so long. Some people see this as an attempt by Ratan Tata to reassert himself, to recapture control of the company.
I don't think
Is that a
so.
fair
I
assessment?
don't think so. The very fact that he has fixed a time limit for himself, 4 months.
Yeah.
He wants to get out.
All right. So, Mohan Parasaran there telling me that they were well within their rights to remove Cyrus Mistry in the way that they did, and that they have no legal impediments. That, of course, is an open question, because there are indications that Cyrus Mistry, as well as the Shapurji family to which he belongs, might be, if not moving court, at least moving the company law board against his removal. Both sides are clearly lawyering up as we speak. But he addressed the question of how Cyrus Mistry was removed. But what about the bigger question, which has haunted this announcement since when it was made, about why he was removed? There's been so much speculation about that. But in the next interview, you're going to hear the exact detail of why Cyrus Mistry was removed, or at least the major reason why he was removed by the Tatas. And this has come from someone who's a trustee on one of the two major trusts that's actually the owners of the Tata Group. Now, we know this is a unique corporate structure where this company is controlled by 4 or 5 trusts which own over 60% of the Tata Sons. These are charitable trusts which do activity like education and health and so on. And they believe that the falling financial revenues, the financial troubles of the Tata Group was exacerbated during Cyrus's time, and that left Ratan Tata with virtually no choice but to show him the door. Here is the entire account in the voice of one of the key trustees of the Tata Group. As a member of the trust, which actually control the majority stake of the company, what were your concerns?
Well, you see, the major concern was that the trusts are dependent for their philanthropic activities on the dividends that we receive from our investment in Tata Sons.
Right, from the Tata shares.
Tata shares. And we gradually found that the performance of Tata Sons was becoming more and more dependent on only 2 companies, that is Tata Consultancy Services
Yes.
and JLR.
Jaguar Land Rover.
Jaguar Land Rover. And it is these 2 companies which are contributing a large share of the Tata Sons profits on which the dividends are paid out to us. But we cannot take it for granted for all times
Right.
that these companies will continue to be as profitable and contribute as much to the Tata Sons.
You can't just
We just
put
cannot-
all your eggs in one or 2 baskets.
Exactly.
What about other concerns, of which we've also been hearing, about whether the regime change necessarily matched the values of the Tata Group, which is so important to the company?
Yes, I think there has been some divergence on that score as well.
On which score?
On the score of the values of the Tata Group
Okay.
and the ethical way of dealing with things,
Right.
and not taking an entirely legalistic position. So that also was an undercurrent.
When you mention legalistic, I suppose you're referring to the fact that the Tatas got into a prolonged legal battle with Docomo, who was their partner in the telecom business.
Yes.
And then there was a falling out. And the net result of that is that the Tatas lost a very hefty fee in the arbitration courts.
Yes, I think that is public knowledge of how things have been going on.
Right.
And they have not been very cordial, I would say, at the least.
So you're saying that taking the hard legal line doesn't really fit with the philosophy of the Tatas?
Philosophy and ethos of Tatas.
Also, sir, I wanted to ask you that how was, since the time of Cyrus taking over, how was the coordination between the trust and Tata Sons? Because that's again very important.
After the regime change and Mr. Tata remaining the chairman of the trust, but Mr. Mistry becoming chairman of Tata Sons, the need for such a link was felt.
Right.
Some kind of a formal or informal link, which would be helpful in carrying our concerns to the Tata Sons.
So once you're saying that, what you're saying perhaps indirectly is that once the regime change took place, the existing link was broken. Or it
there was
ceased
no
to
link.
exist.
There was no link as such, no formal link.
There was no formal link.
So
between
no
the trusts.
new formal link was established.
So in a way, sir, is it fair to say that the build-up to this decision to actually replace Mr. Mistry was partly driven by the concerns of the trust that you raised?
Yes, there's no doubt about that.
Okay.
Yeah, that was certainly the case.
And this has been now brewing for what sort of time period are we talking about?
Maybe this year at least.
This year. Were you also taken aback like all of us when you heard the news, or you had an inkling?
I would certainly say that I'm not at all happy about this development.
Okay.
This looks very ugly,
Right.
to say the least.
Right.
But having said that, I would also add that probably no choices were left, no options were left.
Before the company.
Yeah, before the trust.
So V.R. Mehta there, trustee of the Sir Dorabji Tata Trust, clearly outlining that it was the trust and their concerns about the falling finances which they require to run their charitable activities, the ethical divergence, as he put it, and the breakdown of communication. All of that, he said, led to a situation where finally Cyrus Mistry had to go. He said it was ugly, which was quite candid of him, but he said it looked like they had no choice. Now, this has been a frustrating story for us as journalists because there's only been so far one side of it. There's been virtual silence from the side of Cyrus Mistry. We have very little idea of what he makes of all of this and what his defense would be. So to try and put in some context into this, we're joined by a very special panel, Vikram Singh Mehta, who's the current chairman of Brookings India and a leading light of corporate India as well, joins me from Bombay. Thanks very much, sir, for being here. Dushyant Dave, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court, joining me in Delhi, and Stanley Pignell, who's the South Asia business correspondent for The Economist and who wrote a fascinating long read on the Tata's struggles, which he called Mistry's Elephant, also joins me on the show. To you first, Vikram Singh Mehta, before we come into the why behind Cyrus Mistry's removal, the manner in which it was done, this almost cold-blooded boardroom coup, do you think that this was very much in keeping with global practice, as some people in the Tatas have been telling us, or did this take you by surprise?
Look, I don't want to speculate, nor do I want to compare what happened 2 days ago with global practice, but I can share with you the thoughts that ran through my head when I heard this announcement. The first thought was, of course, a sense of regret. I still remember when I left the IAS after 19 months, the first person that I wrote to for a job was Ratan Tata, and the only company I thought of joining was the Tata Group. So to see the Tata Group embroiled in a controversy that calls into question its values, its ethics, it's very sad for me personally, and I think it's very sad for corporate India as well. Because Tata Group has stood as an emblem of everything that the corporate India should stand for.
Right.
The second thought that ran through my head was, of course, related to the complexity of the corporate governance model within Tatas. It's a unique structure. There are a number of listed companies, then there's Tata Sons, and then there's the Tata Trust, which holds the majority shareholding in Tata Sons.
Sure.
Now, the question that I ask myself is, we're talking about now the succession to the chairman of Tata Sons. We will also have to ask the question, what is the mechanism in place for the chairmanship of Tata Trust, and what happens if and when the two chairmen differ with each other? Is there a mechanism in place? I'm sure there is, but I certainly don't know it.
Right.
And the third thought, which I guess I should share, is the role of the individual. The individual in every organization seems to be far more powerful than the institutions and the processes that are in place. And we have to find a way of balancing the role of the individual with the mechanics and the processes that are in place for ensuring good corporate governance.
Right.
And these are just three sort of personal thoughts that ran through my head. So I'm not going to, I can't say anything more than that.
All right, let me just bring in Stanley Piniel into this. Now, Stanley, you wrote a fairly nuanced piece where you pointed out that while there have been problems with the Tatas under the Cyrus Mistry regime, there are also factors unique to the organization which prevent chairmen from making independent minded decisions. So when you just heard there a short while ago a Tata trustee saying or virtually blaming the Mistry regime for its struggles with revenue and profit and so on, is that fair, or is that an overstating of the problems that they face?
I think Cyrus Mistry inherited a very complicated organization. Complicated from the point of view of corporate governance, complicated also by the fact that the traditions are so strong within the Tata Group. He also inherited a string of problems. The NTT Docomo spat,
right,
which apparently some in the group were very unhappy with, was not of his making. The problems at Tata Steel were not of his making, nor those at Tata Power. So he had a very difficult job to do to try and bring back profitability to many parts of the Tata Group that had probably grown too fast, if we're being honest, under
Yes.
Ratan Tata's leadership over 20 years. Now the question is, was he able to do that? Was he his own man? I think having Ratan Tata still at the trusts,
Yes.
still in the corridors of Bombay House, probably made it very difficult for Cyrus Mistry to make these important decisions.
Right. The problem, of course, with all of this, as I just said a short while ago, Stanley, is that as journalists, it's very difficult to tell both sides of the story. I mean, I'm sure you must have faced that when you were doing the piece as well. Now that Cyrus has exited, I'm sure you must be working your sources within the Tatas. Are you hearing anything at all about his side of what happened?
Well, I think it's important to say that Tata is rapidly emerging as one of the most opaque, if not secretive, big corporate groups in the world. And I think that's fundamentally strange for a company that is so wedded to corporate governance. It's well known that Cyrus Mistry did not give a single press interview in the 4 years that he was in the job, and I think that's a shame for a company that sits so centrally by reputation and by its size in corporate India.
Yeah.
Cyrus Mistry still isn't talking to the press. I have tried, as have many others. There seems to be some kind of legal proceedings going on. Whether there are or not, I still think it's extraordinarily damaging to have this threat of a spat at the Tata Group, which is not really the kind of company in which this sort of thing happens.
Absolutely unprecedented. In fact, the only word that we got from Cyrus Mistry, we just had the graphic up on the screen, is where he put out a statement saying that under his watch, he made sure that no special favors was shown to the Palonji Mistry firm, his family firm. They didn't get contracts which were perhaps more, or there was no act of impropriety, and that in fact the number of contracts they got reduced dramatically. That's all we heard from him. But Dushyant Dave, I mean, as I said earlier, both sides are lawyering up. Just to quickly check, have you been grabbed by either side so far, or you're a neutral voice?
No. Fortunately not. If I was, I wouldn't have come on the show.
Fair enough. But do you think, contrary to what Mohan Parasaran said, do you think that Cyrus Mistry has a strong enough case to take this to court or to the company law board or all these legal options?
Well, it depends on the facts of the case. It depends on the manner in which Cyrus Mistry was appointed. If there was an appointment letter, it depends a lot on the articles of association of the company.
Right.
And of course, it depends on the grounds that the board may have justifying the removal. But the manner in which the removal has taken place certainly raises very serious doubts as to the functioning of the Tata Sons, and that is an extremely sad commentary, because in this country Tata Group is really respected as a group which has certain principles, certain ethos, and this removal is perhaps one of the ugliest faces of the corporate governance that you see in India.
And this
so
is
I
going to
think
be
that it's going to be a
this is going to be a challenge, isn't it, Vikram? Sorry, Dushyant, if I can just go back quickly to Vikram Singh Mehta, that is this going to be a problem now for the Tatas? Because when they begin their global hunt once again, as they had done 4 years ago, to find a replacement for Cyrus Mistry, looking at the manner in which he was removed, would many of these CEO heavyweights, either in India or abroad, have some concerns about, pushing ahead for the job?
Well, quite possible, because as I said earlier, I'm not clear in my own head as to what is the nature of the relationship between Tata Trust and Tata Sons in the event that there is a difference of views, and in the event the two chairmen are two different people. So someone who is looking to take over this job will most certainly want clarity on that relationship. And he will want to know what are the mechanics in place, and whether or not he is protected perhaps from decisions of this kind. I don't know. All I know is that this is indeed a very complex conglomerate, and whilst conglomerates in general around the world have continued to show economic success, this group will need to be more nimble and more entrepreneurial if they're going to face up the competition that we are seeing around the world, and that I think is going to be the big challenge for the new successor.
Right.
So
just putting
I
up
guess
some.
There's going to be some uncertainty there.
Just putting up some numbers on the screen again on the somewhat nuanced legacy of Cyrus Mistry. If you look at the market cap of the Tata Group, it's doubled since he took over, from about 4.2 lakh crores in 2013. It's about 8.5 lakh crores in 2016. Stanley, I don't know what you make of that. I mean, that could just simply be the natural curve of the Indian markets. But the 9 most indebted companies have seen their debt rise by 24%. So, I mean, obviously, whoever is going to now come, is not going to have an easy job.
Yeah, I mean, to understand the Tata Group, you have to break it into its various components. And as the gentleman from the Trust was saying before, there are 2 companies that did very well and that have long done very well, and that's TCS, the IT company, and Jaguar Land Rover. But the rest are a distinctly mixed bag. Most of them do not kick up profits that are bigger than their cost of capital. They have what is called negative economic value added. That is a problem that has been going on for a very long time. It wasn't Cyrus Mistry's problem. It's been going on for a very long time. But he arguably did too little to tackle that problem, quite possibly because the board or the trusts or the complicated structure of the group made it
prevented him from doing
to get
so.
to grips with.
Fair enough. Let's just get.
Is that
sorry to cut you off. I just need to get a quick last word in from Dushyant Dave. I know that you said you're on neutral legal ground here, Dushyant, but if you had a quick word of advice for either Ratan Tata or Cyrus Mistry, what would that be?
Well, I would certainly say that they should resolve it outside the court as soon as possible. I don't think that this decision really. However, one may feel that it is a corporate decision and the board is empowered to take the decision. I don't think that they will ultimately be able to hold this decision to be a good decision in the long run. And you should not forget one fact, that Mr. Ratan Tata himself enjoys a very, very questionable reputation, having aligned himself with Neera Radia. And it would be not fair for Mr. Ratan Tata to insist on exit of a man like Mr. Cyrus Mistry. So, and as Stanley rightly says, that Cyrus Mistry inherited one of the most difficult organizations. It was the investments made by Mr. Ratan Tata, be it in steel,
Sure.
be it in automobile, and therefore I don't think one can ever justify. The board won't be able to justify the decision on merits of the case.
Okay,
I think
well,
it's
on
an
that-
ugly war. It's totally avoidable,
Yes.
and they should really settle it outside the court quickly.
Okay, we'll have to wait and see if that happens, but right now it seems that it's going in the other direction. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. That's all we have time for. Thanks so much for watching. Good night.